What's going on, everyone? I know it's been a good minute, but I'm back here again with another tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and run the number 6 going through, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my time with this. Go ahead and make sure I do everything, go against the grain, try to hit in all the directions, make sure I don't miss any spots there. I know it's been a good minute. I went ahead and filmed this probably when COVID first hit. So this is actually my boy Sleepy. He was in town from Texas, so I had to cut him up at the house. I had to make sure I got him right. I'm gonna go ahead and remove some of this bulk on the side. I'm gonna start off with the number 2, and I'm not digging into the scalp. I'm actually just kind of getting almost to the top of his head, and then I'm kind of gliding the clipper straight up, but this is just to remove some bulk. Now I'm going to follow that up with the number 3 guard, and again, I'm not digging into the actual top of his head. I don't want to create like a mohawk looking type haircut. I just want it to be a nice fade coming from the top. Like I said, I had a number 6 up top, so I don't want to dig in there too much. And again, as you could tell, like now with the number 4, I'm just kind of making sure the sides blend right into the top. So now I'm going to go ahead and get started with my first guideline. I'm going to go ahead and use my edges here and create my first guideline. I like to start my guideline towards the back of the head and then connect the sides. That way both sides are even. Now you're just going to see me go ahead and clean everything up here with my edgers. Usually I like to use a comb, but I'm not going to lie, I was cutting at the house, so I didn't really have everything that I usually keep at the shop here. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and clean up right underneath that with my shaver. Sorry about that. I usually use Andy's Pro Foil. Sometimes I use my Bronze Series 9. This one works well. Just with the shaver, just make sure you're getting as close as you can to that top line, but without digging too close, because then you will have trouble removing that line. So I try to get it pretty close, and right before I get to the top, you'll see me start flicking out with it. Here I am using the shaver now, the Pro Foil that I mentioned earlier. And here, I think this one just gets a little closer than the Braun. I'm not gonna lie, I think the Braun runs down really quick on like that thick hair, but I still don't think it gets as close as this Andy's Pro Foil shaver, so that's why I'm a fan of it. Now I'm gonna come in with my wall clippers, and I'm gonna go ahead and do open lever. And here I want to do anywhere from like a 1/4 inch to an inch up top, and you want to make sure that you have a nice guideline flowing through here. You want to make sure that it's nice and parallel to that line underneath it, so crispier lines is gonna come out for a crispier fade. So now I'm coming through with a half guard right on top of that, and I'm doing an open lever as well. So right now I'm just pretty much laying down my foundation. Now I close my half guard, and I'm coming up right underneath it, and I'm erasing that line in between it. Now I'm going to come in with the number 1 open as well, and then again about 1/2 inch on top of the other one, keeping it parallel, so that way we create a smooth transition. And after I'm done opening it, I'll close it and I'll fade out that line right underneath it. Now I'm going to come in with the 1.5 open guard, and again doing the same process about 1/2 inch up top. Then you'll see me close it, and if you see any dark spots, just like I always tell you guys, I like to use the corner of my blade to make sure I clean everything up. Now you'll see me kind of jump into my number 2 guard, and again, because I had already created that shape at the beginning of the haircut, flowing from a 6 up top to the sides, you won't see me work in this area too much since I had already kind of cleaned that up a bit. Sometimes I like to run through. I'm a perfectionist at a time, so I just like to make sure everything's good if I missed any little hairs. So now I left the bottom line for the end, since the I like to leave this one at the end. It's personal preference. Some people like to fade it out at first, but I really like doing this at the end because that way I feel like it gives me like a tighter fade. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this, and I basically start off with my lever completely closed, and I use my trigger plate and I slowly start opening that up until I get to the top, and then flick that out, and that way you'll be able to blend this out. And now you can start seeing that fade come through together. You start seeing it all, a nice transition coming through, very seamless, looking really crispy now. And once I'm done, now that the fade's done, I like to always go back in and do some touch-up work. So I like to polish everything on. Right there, I think I slapped my half guard back on, and I'm just cleaning it up. And not every client's head is like perfect. Some people will have like small indents or scars or things like that. So I like to always go back in and just do some touch-up work. And like I said, using the corner of my blades, I'm always polishing up the fade. If you guys spend like an extra 5 minutes at the end of every haircut just cleaning it up, that's what really makes a difference. Here I'm just coming back in with my edger. If I see like a tiny little line, I'll just try to flick it out. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get this lineup started. I usually like to spray either alcohol, or sometimes I'll use hairspray, but that way it'll just kind of clean everything up off the front before I start edging, and it'll give me for a crispier hairline. So I like to start at the middle always, then I work my way to the higher side, and that way I don't end up taking the other side up higher than I have to. And I know some people will always be like, hey man, you push this hairline back or this and that. I don't like pushing people's hairlines back, but there is this thing called a professional pushback. So sometimes if the hairline's not completely full, you will have to push it back a little bit, but obviously always consult with your client first. But to me, man, the crispier the hairline, the more the fade will stand out. Now I'm gonna come through here, and I think he just wanted to keep a small little goatee, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim all this down with the number 1 guard. And while I'm at it, I'm just gonna start cleaning up his eyebrows. Usually with the eyebrows, I always clean it up a little bit with my edges first before I go in there with the actual razor blade. Here you'll just see me start removing most of this facial hair, and look at that, man. If you could still see on the right side, I haven't even touched the right side yet, but just look at the difference a haircut does, man. My boy Sleepy looking so much younger. On that note, look at me, man. You can tell we're in a full pandemic. I hadn't got a haircut in a minute. I hadn't shaved in a couple weeks there. So now I'm just gonna start cleaning this up, make sure I clean up the lips, flip this edger around, clean everything up here. And again, I always like to sculpt everything with my edgers before I go back in with the actual blade. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with the shaver as well, just trying to get everything nice, smooth, and cleaned up. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and add some shaving gel before I put the razor blade in there. That way you don't create a tug or anything. Always stretch the skin and just pull softly. You don't have to dig in there with the blade. Let the razor blade do the job. It'll just glide very smoothly. Right here, you'll just see me go ahead and clean everything up. Always make sure you clean up around the ear, right around the neck. That's where everybody always forgets, and that's the worst thing, man. You don't want a client leaving the barbershop, coming back, and still having hair on his neck. That's the worst part. It'll mess up you could have the freshest haircut and forget that, and that'll mess everything up. So now with the hairline, I always like to go with the grain first and against the grain. I'm just gonna clean up his eyebrow, clean up the center there, and make sure I shape those up. Always consult with your clients. Some clients like those thin eyebrows. Some people just like you to clean them up very little, so always consult with your client. Now you just see me here working on the goatee again, man. As long as you got this thing, you got some shave gel on there, everything will be nice and moist and a lot easier for that razor blade to glide. Then always make sure you clean stuff up with a towel, and then I kind of go at it again for a little bit just to make sure everything is as sharp as it looked the first time. Again, here I'm just following the same process once I finished up cleaning up the right side of the head. Double checking my work, hitting it with the number 1 again, making sure everything's nice and even. And whenever you're edging up the front, right now I like to work on a side and the other side, but always take a step back, make sure everything's nice and even. Sometimes you got to take a step back, because up front, whenever you're working so close to a client, you think everything's nice and even, nice and sharp, but once you take that step back, you might be able to catch something you did it the first time. But that's pretty much it. Just gonna go ahead and clean up the haircut here. But just look at the difference, man. All the way from Texas, coming into Florida during the pandemic, had to make sure I cut up my buddy here. But he's back to life now, looking like a completely different person. Always making sure I clean up the neck. And I'm just gonna lay down the top of the hair with some gel, just styling it for him so he leaves the house looking nice and fresh. I would say the barbershop, but I think I had to film at the house here. But that's pretty much it. You'll just see me do a little bit of cleanup work here. Since he's not growing his hair out, I just kind of cleaned up the cowlick in the back with some scissors. But that's pretty much it. You got a mid fade there with the number 6 up top. Sorry it took so long, but hopefully I'll be dropping some more videos here soon. I got a couple clippers I want to do some reviews on, so we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Highs and lows.